All right, we are live. Hello, everybody, and got a little bit of a late start tonight, but I'm not actually, I am super excited for this conversation. Dr. Kristen Schultz is a friend of mine now. We met on the internet, which is so funny because we're both doctors of physical therapy and runners, and ultimately when we started like talking, had so many conversations that were just such in alignment, and so many things that we kind of were in the same life path. So it's been a really fun time getting to know you, and then actually getting to meet you in person earlier this year, which is so fun coming up to DC. So yeah, I will kind of hand it off to you. Give everybody a little bit of an introduction of kind of who you are, where you are, and then we'll dive into kind of the PT stuff.
Yeah. So my name's Kristen. I'm a physical therapist. I'm a run coach. I coach clinicians as well, how to write run plans and get started with their online business. And now I'm also doing a lot of speak up coaching, which is for the business owner who needs to learn to use their voice more, really bring themselves into what they're doing online and in person. So that's a whole, that was kind of, I guess, my path in a little bit, but in 30 seconds. But currently in Washington, D.C., like she said. Yeah, my background's more around like running in physical therapy. But I know we really, I think, collide. I don't know, that's the word that just came to my brain, in the sense of where we're really similar in how like everything's just so interconnected. And I just feel like our brands are just so similar in a lot of ways, but different, right?
Yeah.
And I also, like she alluded to, like dance as well. So maybe we'll talk about that a little bit. I don't remember if that was before or once we got in the show. But that's quick. I've been in PT for over 10 years, runner for 22 years. I think the PT is 11 or 12 years at this point. I always lose track of time on that. And been in my own business since 2018, really the end of then. So yeah, we can say 7 years there. So yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. Time literally flies
I
so
know.
much. Like, oh my gosh, thinking about PT school and everything like that, and finally being out in the real world. But yeah, so for me, like, if people are watching and they haven't heard my story previously, I graduated from PT school and went out to Washington State and worked a travel therapy job. I only lasted 7 months in a traditional outpatient clinic in the hospital job. And then I came back to Tennessee and started thinking about how I was going to do something that I really enjoyed. But Kristen, for you, how did you where was that transition in your career from school and then working maybe in traditional and then getting into business for yourself?
Yeah, I feel like there's two paths, not paths, but two reasons or two awarenesses, right, in my path of like into entrepreneurship. One
Mhm.
was, which I feel like the one I was thinking about this lately, I'm like, I don't know if I've shared enough or a lot on it. It might be more in podcasts like this than just like on my presence online. But
Mhm.
like one path was, it was literally my first outpatient internship. I wanted to go ortho sports. I was an athlete all my life, ran in college, like pretty competitive. Like I want to work with athletes. So I'm at this Air Force base. So like, Air Force, like military, they think like athletes. So same similar mentality. I'm working there. And I'm just thinking to myself, like everyone else in there was like loving what they're doing. They're just like, yeah, this is it. They loved it. And I was just kind of like, I don't know that this is it. Like I loved everyone I worked with. I had the most amazing, like literally, probably that's one of my top like experiences as PT, even though I'm a student, right? Like
Yeah.
it was such a cool clinic. We got such good training. I learned under some of the best. Like seriously, like I was surrounded by the best. But I literally was going home every night, and like every Thursday I was crying. And I don't even like cry that often, and like I mean that's been a whole different process, but um, anyways, but I'm just like, I can't do this for the rest of my life. And like, of course, there's gonna be a lot of stuff coming up with that, in the sense of like everyone else is liking this. I've always been this like straight A student, good at sports, all this stuff. Like, and I'm like, I don't like this. Like, but I don't
Yeah.
know that I admitted that to a lot of people. So that's like the first actually bit. And I feel like that's part of what I don't talk about as much. The
Yeah.
second part is going to be what a lot of PTs run into, and they're just like, they maybe do like it, and they're like, I like doing this. It's just not in this setting, which is part of it. That can definitely help. But the other part was just what the standards we are, have to uphold in the clinics and the route that PT is going in general. And I was just like, this is what I want to do. I like want to give more of a whole, body approach. I've always seen things more holistically.
Mm-hmm.
I luckily when I was younger never had overlap patients, but I was like, I don't want to overlap patients, like all this stuff, right? All that stuff that goes into it, which leads you to start your own business,
Mm-hmm.
which I did and can go into that too. But there was really kind of two awareness. One, I don't know that this is matching up. And I guess wouldn't have been as conscious at the time, but as I've gone evolved around, I
Yeah.
don't know that this actually matches up with my gifts. It matches up with that what I thought I should do. And like, going back to when I'm younger and the reasons I did things when I'm younger, it matched up with that. But when you actually get to discover who you are and what you're good at, it was like a slow revelation of like, oh, I actually don't think this is like actually where my gifts, my zone of genius actually lies. So there's
Yeah.
kind of like two paths of why I ended up or why I ended up starting my own business. But as I continue and my business has very much evolved and I'm in an evolution like heavily right now, like letting things go, which I think might be why I have this headache right now. I was sick for the last 3 weeks and then I got this massive headache and I was
Mm.
telling Libby before this, I was like, oh, I think I'm just like letting go of a lot of stuff right now. So
The body holds it. Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
It
So
does. Well, and I don't think I had heard that first part of your story before but that really resonates with me because I didn't like any of my clinicals. Like when I was in PT school, I I was looking around and seeing people, some students in my class, oh yeah, they're so excited to go to the clinic and do these different things. And I was just exhausted and drained and I hated it.
yeah,
I
yeah,
felt really bad admitting that because as you know too, as that high achiever person who has always had this vision of what they maybe should be doing or what the right quote unquote path is, or that you're going to school to get your doctorate, like you're not going to just throw that all away, are you?
yeah, yeah,
It's this internal struggle of knowing what you actually truly feel and what
yeah.
your, like you said, your zone of genius can be versus, and like following that versus just staying in something that's making you feel really stuck. So
Mhm.
yeah, I totally resonate with
Yeah.
that.
Did you like? Would you think you were aware enough at that time too, or did you share with people like that you weren't liking it, or were you
uh,
probably not?
that's a good question. I don't think I shared with people, but I was definitely aware of it. But I kept thinking that maybe it would get better when I
Yeah.
went into the real world and got a real job, but it but then the second half comes, right? And then that's when, you're overrun or you're dictated to do certain things just by what insurance says covers somebody's injury, or you can't really take a holistic approach with somebody, and that was really limiting, and I felt like I wasn't actually able to perform my best. And
Mhm.
also, I don't think that people were bought into that system, at least not where I was working. I
Yeah.
had a lot of patients who were just there to check boxes. They were there to check the 6 sessions that they needed for getting a back surgery, and they
Yeah.
weren't actually doing the work that I was providing them. And so
Yeah.
it was really frustrating. And I know a lot of PTs that move into the cash-based world or start their own businesses in any sense felt that in some way probably. So,
Yeah. 100%.
yeah. Yeah. So, with that, like, so you mentioned too, of course, you've been a runner for a long time.
Yes.
So I know that this has been something that we've chatted about a little bit, and there's a story here because I know as a physical therapist, you have all this training in movement and recovery and how to, train for specific things. But as we've all evolved from, when we maybe started a movement practice, for you, it was running. For me, it was running initially as well. Things change. And so
Mhm.
I'd love for you to share a little bit of your story on kind of that evolution of, runner to kind of where you are have been going, and maybe a little bit of your struggle with long COVID, because I know that that is something that was a really big impact.
Yeah, it's a big impact. It still is, and it's like it's like still raw in its way, in the sense of like I don't know what you were going through, like what I was gonna like share on, um,
Mhm.
but like how it's changed. But that's where dance comes in. But yeah, so I've been a runner. I mean, I've been an athlete really since I was little, right? I did every sport under the sun. You know, I danced, I did gymnastics, did travel soccer, travel softball. Like I just like live for the movement, right? Like that's kind of my life, like which goes with movement mantra, right? Like I just like to be active, like always moving. Like that's just like what I want to be doing. Ended up running in college, you know, also love running, but also love it from a competitive standpoint too. um and then I've actually dealt with a fair share of my own like injuries, even as a physical therapist, right, myself. So that's been a big part of my journey, my struggles, right, which goes into like helping people with that stuff. But like from a movement perspective, heavily into running. But I've always, now slightly because I've been injured, I will like, oh, I'll take up mountain biking. I've done a lot of stuff actually because of like injuries, which that could be a whole conversation. I won't go too much. I think there was some avoidance going on, right? Of like when past when I became a PT, like practices were a lot different than they are now, right? We were a little bit more conservative than we definitely are now. So I feel like I was more conservative with my injuries back then than I am now. But movement, lifting's always been big, even since high school. I started lifting in high school. I've always enjoyed lifting. That's always been a part of my movement as well. I've always
Mhm.
liked it too. Like a lot of runners don't actually like it, and that's fine. If you don't, you just do it because you're like, this is good for me. I generally like lifting as well. And then those are like my main things. By like, you know, hiking, I would like, you know, maybe go play recreational soccer, softball here and there, depending on my time allowances and stuff. And then I had a few injuries there too. But along the way, so she mentioned a little bit, I've been struggling with long COVID for a couple of years now. And um, it's gotten like, it's not fully better, right? Like I can do a decent amount, but it's just like I'm still not myself or my old self, which has been interesting. And it's been it's been like, just it's been a hard journey, like emotionally, obviously, mentally, if you could imagine, up and down. Sometimes it's like I'm actually like, wow, I'm like way more thankful. I have more gratitude for life. I'm like have more joy, but it also, it's because it comes from like suffering, right? A little bit to a degree. But
Yep.
along the way, one of the things I picked up is dance. Something I've always wanted to do, but I think I always put it on the like, hey, this is going to be like after I reach all my competitive goals. Then I've always had that in the back of my mind. It was always this like, I think my mind, you know, we have a lot of that all or nothing mindset a lot of times as athletes or high achievers in general. And I wasn't even fully conscious of it maybe until I've gone through the last few years, to be honest. I think
Yeah.
there was a lot of like, okay, serious, like I need to be focused to reach these goals, you
Right.
know, this time frame is where my peak performance is going to be, and then after that I'll do these other fun things that I want to do. And I think like I did a live about this other day. Like I was just like, I think I could have, not even I think, I know you could combine it. Like you could do all that and be competitive, right? But and I would have told you that even at that time probably, but I don't think I was conscious of the fact that I was still having these like thoughts that was kind of like I have to be more this all or nothing, right? That can get you, a lot of us. But you know, I've gotten into dance as I'm like healing my body, and still like I want to get to the point where I'm at where I was before. It still hasn't dropped as a goal to have like some high achieving goals in running. But along the way, I'm doing things that are fun. And I'm like, I don't have to be I've learned I don't have to be as serious. Like, you really don't have to. Running culture is just very, it can be, you know, like bodybuilding, running cultures, like a lot of these dance, like they can get so intense and it's not mentally healthy, right? Because a lot of times it's a substitute mentally. So I just think it's this process has allowed me to open me up to different types of movement, and like dancing is so freeing. Like I legit like just look forward to dancing, and like I really highly recommend like bringing a dance routine, like if you don't have one.
Agree. And it's like, and if it's not dance for people, I know maybe sometimes that's like intimidating in different ways. And it doesn't have to be one style of dance. Like it could be any sort of dance. But I think like a creative movement practice, like whatever that is, like
Yeah.
thing that's not super. And I mean, you could say dance could be like structured, but it's like, and there's certain, like steps and things if you're doing a structured style of dance, but also, just to be creative and moving your body in different ways. And I think that that has been a really big focus for me as well is joyful movement alongside the movement that I do for maybe quote unquote fitness. But actually I really do also love to run, and I also love to lift, and I love to do yoga. So I also all love those things. But dance has been something where I can, I can't running 5 hours, like I've done it. I've done ultras, but yeah, I can dance for 5 hours like multiple nights a week. Like,
Yeah.
on the dance floor, like, and you're like, oh, 5 hours? Wow, it's 1 in the morning. How did we get here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so different to be able to move your body in that joyful way, and but you're getting so many benefits. And like you said, the mental health kind of aspect of that joyful movement.
Yeah.
I mean, movement in general has so many benefits for mental health, but the joyful movement, it's a whole other level. And I think that evolution that we both resonate with, of that like perfectionist, like super high achiever, and not, we are still that person at heart.
Yeah, we'll always live inside of us.
Yeah, like that's here. But being able to have more awareness around that, and then start to incorporate these other things that maybe we weren't allowing ourselves to explore before, because we had some rigid idea about what we should do, needed to do, or whatever to hit those goals. So
Yeah. I think one cool thing now, I've always been a person that really listens to my body, and I'll say that is a part of my philosophy. Like, I'm more relaxed than like some coaches might be in general, right? Where it's like, it's not like we have to do it like this, right? I'm a little more relaxed. It's like a plan that can flow, which is ideal. That's what you need, right? It's a plan, but it can flow. But long COVID has really forced me, I guess, allowed me to like just really listen to my body and like, what does it need today? And I've found, especially my most recent, like, because I'm like trying to get to the final edge of like some of the symptoms that are going on. So I've backed some stuff up, which has of course brought some stuff up of like, why is it hard to not do what I want to do? All that's like, that's brought some stuff to the surface again. And as I'm just trying to like listen to what my body wants, I'm like, why do we even have all these like routines and everything? Like, why don't I just wake up and be like, I want to go? Like, lately I've just been like, I want to do some gymnastics. I want to just do flips. Like, I had like that thing, like, let's just do some cartwheels. Like, I don't know. Like, why does it doesn't have to be like all structured. Like, there's so many ways you can move your body, right?
yeah.
So just like trying to have more fun with it, like hula hooping, juggle a soccer ball, things like that. Versus like running can be such a grind.
Mhm.
And that's like, can be fun, but if it's coming from a healthy place. So,
Right.
but
Yeah.
running culture to me in general can, in my opinion, be kind of not fully a full embodiment of like health, actually. So
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. I mean, when I first got into running, I was getting into it from an unhealthy place mentally. Like, I started to run in order to lose weight
yeah,
from freshman 15 or whatever. And then that led like to orthorexia, anorexia. And then while I enjoy, and it started to actually love running, but it was mostly also just this way to burn calories, and this way to purely just achieve some sort of aesthetic goal that I thought was going to happen by just running my butt off, literally. And it was, it definitely took time to learn that obviously is not the way to approach it, and you need to have strength, and you need to have nutrition, and you need to have all of these other movement styles. But the run culture, I was around some people that were in track and everything like that. And, they would just say stuff like, oh yeah, the lighter you are, the faster you are. And all of this stuff that was difficult to, like, I don't know, absorb, I guess. I wonder if she's paused. Kristen. Ah, well, we'll get her back on. It looks like she got off the live somehow. 1 second. the beauty of doing lives is that uh, things happen and there's no editing. So the perfectionist in me can't make any changes. Oh, there she is. Do do. We'll get it figured out, guys. I think something went wrong with her Wi-Fi. We're getting it back on. Hello. All right, we're trying to log off and log back in. While we're waiting for her to come back, I think something that is important, and we'll chat with Kristen when she gets back in here, but I think something that is important is to understand that everybody has their own struggles that maybe they are going through or have gone through, and that those struggles aren't necessarily linear. They have ups and downs. There's good times, bad times. When you're recovering from something, whether it's an injury, like a ACL or tendonitis or something like long COVID that really is impacting your body from like an entire systemic level, or you have some sort of chronic illness, it can be really difficult to, you know, stay, I don't know if motivated is the right word, but stay positive about moving your body and about doing all of the things. And so here she is. You're back.
Okay, it's not spinning.
Perfect.
Oh my goodness. Okay, hopefully this will work.
No worries. You're good. Technology is great when it works, and when it doesn't, it's terrible. So here we are.
Dang. It looks like it's good, so hopefully it should be okay.
Fingers crossed.
Yes. Go ahead.
I'm not entirely sure where we left off exactly, but basically, I think I wanted to say about long COVID, what I was going to say is like with long COVID or with people in general that have had injuries, like, and you've had injuries, like physical injuries, and then also dealing with long COVID and this like journey of rehabbing your body, but then also having to tune into your body and like listen to your body and understand. Have you have you coached any one question I guess is, have you coached anybody else that's had long COVID, and like what is your, and do you have like feedback for that type of person? And then two, what is actually tuning into your body or listening to your body mean to you? Because I think that that's something people are like, I don't even know what that means. Like I know what that means for me, but I don't know if people really understand what that means.
Yeah, I guess, and that's a good question because I think it's not necessarily something we're all good at or at all, especially in today's world. For the most part, we don't listen to our body, and it's not even well accepted or looked upon, I guess, to listen to your body. Like if you listen to your body, like what, you're not jacked up on caffeine and eating fast food and like I don't know, like it's just kind of like the American way. But I mean, I think listening to your body has different layers. And I think even most recently, I was having a new awareness of having to listen to my body because I was recently sick. And like I tested negative for COVID, but I'm not convinced it wasn't COVID, to be 100% honest. And the main reason is just the way it made my body feel and the fact that I wasn't really able to exercise with it, which I usually can exercise with anything else. So I have a new awareness too. But for me, listening to your body is just like, and I think this is where it can get confusing or people could overlap it, is like, what does my body say that it needs, right? Like literally your body, not your mind. So I think there's like two different things, right? Like and I think that can be hard, I guess, for people too. It's like, okay, I'm tired, like physically exhausted, I need sleep, or I'm tired, but I like don't need, I mean, there's so many things. I think of rest just because I have historically if I'm not listening to body, it's a lot of times not getting sleep, historically, and long COVID has taught me I need that. But there's different types of fatigue. That's where my brain is going, at least, right? It's like, it's determining what it is. If you're tired, that can mean so many different things, right? So I'm just going to use that because I think that's the number one thing overachievers are going to run into, maybe, is tired, burnout, that kind of thing. And it's like, okay, am I tired because I'm physically actually not sleeping enough? And I actually just, my body is just like, I'm tired and I want to sleep. Or am I tired and I'm mentally drained, maybe from both our experiences with doing something we don't love? Am I just not lit up enough? Is that the type of tired? Right. Or do I need like more social time? Or do I need to just spend time with myself? Like, what is it that I need? I think for me, one of the biggest questions that can really help you tune into your body is like, what do I need? And be like honest. I don't know. For me, that's a question that really helps me a lot, to tapping into that. But I think we can sometimes confuse what your brain needs and wants and what your body wants. And I think it's not necessarily culturally something we tap into a lot. But to me, it's like, it's how does my body as a whole feel? Maybe injury wise, that's like, okay, well, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that. That's fine. Not from like an over analyzing perspective, but just knowing, okay, this is feeling a little tight. This is feeling that way. To kind of just like do a quick body scan and know where you're at. But I guess that's what tuning into your body means to me. It's just like asking what it can do. And I think potentially I tap into my body more than most people, like have a higher awareness, which has its pros and cons. But in my most recent thing, I guess I kind of hit on it already, as I was realizing, I'm like, I think there's some past version of myself that I was tapping into what my mind actually wanted, not my body. Like literally, what is your body saying to you? You know, like the whole sensation of like, I just want to dance. Like that's different. Like, did I ever want to do that before? I don't know, but it will tell me that it just wants to dance, you know? Like it's like, we need to move.
100%. And I think it's an interesting distinction to think about what your body, like your physical body wants versus
Mhm.
what your mind wants. And I don't think that it's, maybe it's controversial, but I don't think that it's necessarily bad to like kind of also, you know, maybe allow your brain to tell you what it needs sometimes too. Cause like, I don't know, for me, from like a mental clarity standpoint, my body might be physically tired, but I
Right.
know that for my mental clarity, I need
Yeah.
to move
Yeah.
somehow. And if it's a jog at like a 12-minute mile because my legs feel like lead, then that's fine because
Yep.
I need to get outside. That's a big thing, is like a lot of times it's like running also just gets me outside. So
Yep.
like I'm getting outside, I'm getting my eyes away from the computer or my phone.
Yep.
And so I don't think that it's necessarily bad to listen to what your mind
Oh,
needs
yeah.
as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Yes.
But
No, it's
but
great.
yeah, and I don't think we're saying that by any means, but I think it is a super interesting distinction. And knowing though the difference, because then you
Yes.
can you're making a purposeful decision to do something for a purpose.
Right. Exactly.
It's not just like trying to do a checklist item or, you know, going hard because hashtag no days off or whatever, you know, the run streakers or something
Yeah.
like
Yeah. No.
so yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I think for me it's like, yeah, same thing. Like I guess I think sometimes when I think of like what is my system in my own mind. Like but like that's what I've had to learn through long COVID too, was just like some days I was like I'm so used to being able to like just go run and I couldn't some days, right? Because my body, it would leave my body feeling worse. I guess it added to the distinction, but my
Mhm.
mind like needed a run, right? Which is why it was like I've had to learn a lot of new techniques, you know, like not that I was ever just like didn't go to therapy or didn't do anything else, but it was just like, wow, I really have to rely on other, like, you know, like I don't have running for the mental side of things sometimes. So it's like I've learned a lot of other techniques to help my brain calm down if it's feeling anxious, if it's, you know, feeling triggered, if I'm in a lower state, like anything, like figuring out different techniques. But that's like, I mean, even this morning I went for a run and I was like, I was feeling some sort of way about something and I was like, that's why, you know, I went to help me process some things, right?
Yeah.
So that would be more like you were saying for your mind versus, okay, my body just wants to move or it doesn't want to move. It's really tired, but we got to go.
Exactly. And it's like sometimes sometimes, and I don't know, it's so different for everything. Like sometimes I put on music and I'm just doing whatever. And then other times I put on music and immediately like I want to dance, or immediately I feel like I need to be like lifting weights or something, like
Yeah.
something super strong, like some like strong music, or I'm feeling some sort of way or whatever. And I think it all of that brings together the more holistic nature that I know both you and I really try to embody, not only for ourselves, but also with the people that we coach or clients and in the physical therapy world and outside of that. But that mind body connection is so important. And it's something that it is getting more mainstream, I think, for people to understand more about it. But it kind of had this like just woo woo-y sort of, I don't know.
I feel like it's not woo at all. It's the most natural
But
thing
it's
there
not,
is.
I know there's so much
That's
science
the
though
thing.
actually behind it, which is what people maybe are now understanding, that the neurological like connections and the way that our hormones are impacted through movement, but then also through our mind and through stress and all of these different things. Like the body is one big system. And I think that this kind of leads me into the next kind of thing I'm talking about, like how siloed our healthcare system is and
Yeah.
our wellness care system, right?
Yes.
So we're always, where we live in the Western world, like in the United States especially, it's very separated. Everything has its own little buckets, and you go over here for one thing and you go over here for another thing.
Yeah.
And people really struggle to connect the dots because they have to do it all themselves. And our healthcare system isn't set up to actually help them
Yeah.
connect the dots. So, I mean, I've got a lot of different things kind of going, and the way that I approach my clients is one way, but I'm also curious too. Like, you've had this evolution through physical therapy, through your coaching, and then also doing this like speak up too, which is a whole other part of that, honestly.
Yep.
How do you kind of see holistic health, and how do you maybe approach that with a potential client or somebody that you're coaching? And it could be a business coaching client or like a physical therapy or run coach client.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, there's so many
There's
good
so many
things
things,
there.
right?
But to answer your question, and I have a little note on you asked me a question about long COVID. I didn't answer either. If we come back or
Oh
not,
yeah, for sure.
and well, yeah. Anyways, I was just like noting my thoughts, and I had another thought about like play and just like letting yourself do whatever. But what came to my mind when you first asked, like, we could go a lot of different directions. I guess I feel like
Mhm.
business coaching has the ability to be more holistic. I mean, everything has the ability to be more holistic, but it's really more. It is holistic. Like literally, what I am doing with you is holistic, or at least my approach is right. I'm not like just
Yeah.
being sales. Like me, I'm actually working with the human, which I think is what you do a lot. With the business coaching, my main focus, right? Some of my people are like sales and marketing. You might be like content. You might be like whatever. Mine's like my focus is on you and making you the best person. So of course that's going to be holistic and grabbing from a bunch of different, areas of what we need to actually really address. Whereas it's coming from emotional, spiritual, physical, mental, all that, right? Which is, I think, it's so cool. But what came to my mind, even though that's like more the route my business is going, more of what I'm doing now, I'm thinking of as a physical therapist, right?
Mhm.
Because I actually did just have a patient this evening too that I was like, it was a example of I've had this back pain for over 10 years. He's tried everything kind of example. So my evaluation really became more of like, okay, like just an evaluation is not going to get you that far. And I saw this person, I'm not going to see him again. Like it was like I was covering in for a place, like just, one-off evals. I'm like, how can I give this guy the most value? Like, because you're just going to get stuck in the system. I feel like if I don't give you something more right now,
Yeah.
but it just came down to asking lots of questions. So for my end, I'm thinking like physical therapy standpoint, I will dive into like on the, I mean, I'm not going to be one of my first questions, but I will, I got to know his history, let him talk, like get to know, was this kind of from a traumatic event, whatever, like get to know, okay, have we tried therapy around this traumatic event? Like what amount, is there like some of that needs some processing too?
Mhm.
And then I'm asking like from a nervous system health, like, hey, have you tried like, and of course I don't say this straight up. Like I give him time to like feel comfortable. Like I'm hoping with myself. Like I just honestly, it's just a sense, right? I'm
Yeah.
going off of, I don't have like a system. It's just like, I feel like this guy's trust me, or if he doesn't, like I'll bring up these questions because it can be sensitive questions. I'm just like, have you tried like any sort of like meditation, deep breathing, anything to calm down? And of course, this person has been told by a doctor, I think it's all in your head, right? So these could be like sensitive conversations, right?
Yeah.
But definitely from what he told me, I've like sensed that wasn't getting that. Like that's not what he was getting from what I was saying.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking holistically. Like I literally was saying that to him. Like I'm trying to think more holistically for you because you've tried all this stuff. I don't think just doing the same thing's gonna, necessarily help.
Yeah.
So we chatted that. We chatted from physical therapy strength. I think one of the biggest things he hasn't worked into the pain through motions with a little bit of pain yet. So from physical therapy
Yeah.
standpoint, that was like the biggest thing, I could probably give him that we
Right.
went through. But I guess from a physical therapy standpoint, that's kind of the things I'm thinking. I'm thinking whole body. Even had someone with a car accident the other day coming in, and it's just like it, like I get the sense, and she actually ended up being like, "Oh yeah, the breathing was like what helped me the most." Like, what are we holistically, nervous system wise, doing to calm down something that probably isn't just physical? Like, it did have a mental, emotional impact too. And yeah, that's not necessarily in some places, depending on what I'm doing, it's that my main thing in my own what I do. Can it be? Yes. In like a traditional healthcare, maybe not. I gotta watch my what I'm, whatever I feel comfortable. It depends on what avenue I'm in. But I am gonna ask, the right questions, and of course, so I feel like they need to see someone else for that, refer out and stuff. But I do believe there's a lot we can do, especially if we are more emotionally in tuned individuals, to help our, patients out. So,
Yeah.
uh, yeah. So
No.
just a little bit. I guess I could go into more, but that's what came to mind when you asked me.
Oh yeah, I know all of that. And that's like a great example of like somebody who probably just has been like through the system, like the guy with back pain, like is a big one, of course. I don't think opiates are prescribed as often as they were once, but I think even when I was like in PT school, that was like still a big thing. Like a lot of people had just been prescribed opiates for their back pain for years, and it was, awful for their
Yeah.
body. And so I think that, we are now in a place where more people are more accepting of more of the holistic practices, which really just should be the practices. Like, that's really how we should think about the entire body.
Mhm.
But that is a really good example, because it is a sensitive conversation, I think, to be able to have with people when you bring in maybe these non-Western thoughts, possibly.
Mhm.
I almost said non-traditional, but then somebody brought this up to me the other day. They were like, actually, the we're non-traditional, like the Western medicine is
Yes.
traditional medicine is like Eastern medicine and all of the ancient practices that they had for years and years and years. And I think it's important to understand that there's a time and a place for everything, and that there's an ability to have multiple avenues of healthcare, wellness care, and all of these different things coming together to actually create a full picture for somebody, because they're not going to get better generally with just one avenue of something. Like
Mhm.
it's going to take multiple avenues. It's probably for somebody who has had a traumatic event, it's probably going to take like mental health therapy as well as the nervous system reset. And also, they probably have physical limitations, whether it's from a strength or mobility standpoint in the traditional PT practice. So,
Mhm.
just so much to go into it. And I think that that's where people maybe don't understand exactly why it would be beneficial to work with a coach or work with somebody who does have a wider kind of view or a wider
Mhm.
lens open,
Yeah.
um, and has the ability to do that outside of the insurance-based world
Yeah.
that we're normally in. So, yeah, and that's one of the reasons is we can treat all of these things. And we still
Yeah.
refer out and we still make connections, but it's like but it's a little bit there's more bandwidth on kind of the edges there, I think.
Yeah, and I know I like working myself with anything I need to address, like outside the healthcare system, for that reason too. Like you don't have these I's and T's you gotta dot and cross, and or you're scared of things happening or whatever. But I think that's like the beauty of it. And I know there will be pushback. People will be like, "Oh, you gotta stay in your lane. You gotta do this," and it's just like, let's actually, the root of it is to help people. Like, how can I help people the most? So, what do I
Yeah,
need to do to help people? One
definitely.
of the things I was gonna like hit on really quick too. I think we talked about this in one of our we did one of our episodes we did before, but was like one of the things that I feel like Western world doesn't hit on too, which I think has been a big part of my recovery, is like the soul, right? So I'll hear this and I'll like see it and stuff, but like also going through it myself, it's like whether it's soul, spiritual, whatever side, it's like that's
Mhm.
definitely a part that I don't think probably does really get brought up that much in Western world. Even like you might be more common, like say you're just seeing a PT, a normal PT, and they, are like, oh, you might get the fact of like, what are you doing for your mental health?
Yeah.
But I don't know how often are they going to be like, what are you doing for your spiritual health? Like that might be, like, so I think that's another component, right? You got, in my mind, you got mental, emotional, spiritual, physical. I'd even put like financial health like in there. There's just a lot of different components of health that make up you as a person, and it's figuring out. And I'll say even on the receiving end of this experience of long COVID, it's been I guess one piece of advice I could give to you, at least for me, of what I struggled with. I get so in my head of like, okay, again, maybe going back to that all or nothing, like, what is it, what do I need to do? And I had a PT friend once, because I was like being real and honest with her, I think having a day where I was getting frustrated, and she's just like, it's all gonna help, like that might help this a little bit more, and this is going to help that, the physical is going to help emotional. Like, you don't have to just have one. Like, it's all going to relate and help. So I don't know, that helped me when I was maybe going down that pitch, like there's been a lot brought up of like old patterns that I thought were done that got brought up in this process, and it's just deep down inside of me still, right? Like I'm like, oh, why am I acting this way? Like this was like something I did in high school, or like, this higher like perfectionistic, like I got through that, but it was like comes up in like trauma per se, right? So that was one thing I know I struggle with, and like, hey, it's all gonna help. Like maybe pick where you think, if you want to put more focus here, or maybe go here, wherever, but it can all help the healing process.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And yeah, there's definitely things that kind of trigger those under, deep-seated parts of ourselves that are, part of our, maybe more part of our nature. I don't know, just like kind of that like deeper nature that we have, but based on all of the experiences and things of our life and et cetera. But being able to tap into that, and that like the biopsychosocial model, essentially, that, we learn in school, but it is all of those things. And so when you break down that biopsychosocial model and you look at the person as a whole and you evaluate all of those different components of health that you mentioned, it is so important because all of them impact each other. And then, like you said, when you make maybe little small adjustments in all of these different areas, you are moving the needle. You're moving the whole needle, right? Like it might not feel like you're moving the needle in all of these different little things, but cumulatively you are, and you are making progress. And I think this is something that I know a lot of people struggle with. I struggle with is like, I want results now. Like,
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, why isn't it happening? There's this resistance of like, why am I not better? Why am I not progressing at this thing? Why am I not better at this already? Why am I not losing the weight that I wanted to lose, or gaining the muscle I wanted to gain, or whatever the thing is?
Yeah.
We always want it to happen like yesterday.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
like, it's such a hard, because it's so human for us to want that. I think it's really hard to acknowledge that everything takes time. It takes time. And that's where, when we talk about health as like a journey or as a path, or, not really having an end goal, it's an important reframe on that, because it gives us these like process oriented things that we can kind of work towards, like maybe habits or mindset or all of these other things that aren't just the end goal. Because when we focus on that one thing, it just like, it messes with our head. I don't know.
No, I think that's, just this has been like the biggest healing journey I've ever gone through, which I do feel like is kind of spiritually orchestrated as much as like whatever, because it's like I've had to like find out about different parts of myself, bring them out, like direction, and I can't keep hiding behind certain things, right? So it's been beautiful, but it's also been very challenging. But yeah, I guess, and I just lost my train of thought. But what I was going to say is that I had two thoughts going. Earlier I was telling like different avenues of health, and the one I didn't think of to say too was relationships. That would be another one that I would put in there. That would be another one. So
no, that's so, and that's a huge one, because for me, and like the community and connection has been my like through line here. So I know that we've talked a lot about that, but it's so important to be able to have community and like and connection. And I think that right now, I've heard a lot of people talk about this in different ways, but basically in like a trust recession. So like nobody trusts anybody anymore. Like there's no trust. And so like having to build trust with somebody, again, we've always just wanted those like immediate results. It takes time to build relationships and form connections. But I think that having really true and relationships that are really authentic to who you are is so important. And it helps give, at least for me, it gives me like more peace, just because I don't feel like I'm trying to be somebody who I'm not.
Right. Yeah, 100%. I'd say that's a big one. And that's actually one that comes up in my coaching a lot too, is relationships, because like I've found like, through my journey, it's like that has been a component that when it changes or things aren't, you're not being authentic or it's not in right relationship, I guess, has thrown me off. So that is a focus of my coaching with my business owners for that reason, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, but I feel like that's just like such a big one. And any like studies when you see them too, I know a lot of times it shows up as just like on longevity or like healing. It's just like relationships. That's one of the main things that comes up. And it's like, we don't go to the doctor for, I mean, I guess, mental health therapy, but it's just like, I think that is a component like to consider when you're talking to someone, right? So
100%. Well, and like the blue zones kind of thing from a longevity standpoint, have we talked about blue zones before?
I think you said, yeah. You brought it up on one of our podcast episodes. You were talking about, and there were certain locations you were talking about.
Yeah, it's like the blue zones are the highest areas of centenarians where there's people that have lived to be 100 or older. And it's really fascinating, just like, but relationships is a huge one. Community, like there's these women in Okinawa, Japan, that they're basically assigned these friendships and these like pods at birth, and they grow up together. And then there's this like video clip in the documentary of these, 105-year-old women who are all sitting around, they're drinking sake and they're like playing poker but and it's like, oh, drinking's not healthy and like smoking's not healthy, and they're not. But at the same time, the relationships that these people had and their purpose in showing up for each other and taking care of each other, that purpose was so strong and is so strong that it's, helped them live long and healthy lives, doing the things that they love with the people that they love. And it's just so important. Yeah. I want to be a centurion.
Yeah. All right. Where are we moving to? Can we move somewhere together?
Yes, 100%. Girl, I'm down for the travel adventure.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. I mean, and that's something too. I think that just made me think of this, is that for me, working out and fitness and all of this stuff, and I talk about this a lot, but I don't know if people know me really that well on Facebook or Instagram or whatever.
Yeah.
But travel is like one of the biggest things. I mean, like this is like, I love traveling, and to be able to have the body that carries me through the world to do that is like the most important. And so I don't know. Do you have something that like, I've been thinking about this like from a purpose standpoint. Do you have something that like drives you to do all of the things that you do? Or like, because I don't know if I'm losing my train of thought a little bit just because I'm thinking, but it's like, I think that travel obviously is a driver and like there's a purpose there, but I also maybe am like still searching a little bit to know if there's like actually a deeper purpose. I don't really know.
Yeah, no, it's good. We can have some deep theological. We can
talk all about those things.
No, it's interesting. I think, at least when you asked me that question, and I was thinking as you were talking a little bit on myself a little bit, just because I've been through this crazy like process of the last few years, which has been not feeling like my old self, but I'm a new self now. And I'm getting to that new version of myself who will be able to move as much as she wants, but with a way different mindset and perspective on the world. But when you asked that question, I was just like, no, before all this stuff happened, I never questioned my body's ability. Like, I was like, I kind of, I don't know if you would call it ego or just like confidence or what, but I was just like, I never thought that I like, I always had full confidence that I could go do whatever I wanted to do physically. Does that make sense? I don't know. So it wasn't like, I'm not waking up because I want to go travel or I want to go dance. I'm like, I'll just be able to do that because I always work out. That's not something that ever got missed in my day. It was just like part of who I am, maybe like even unconsciously, like I'm just going to do it. And I know there was like a study that came out and it was just like one of the biggest drivers, I think, was like, hey, like mental health. Basically, it was saying like if you're working out for, I don't know what the exact wording was it on it. That was like the most reason why people will stay consistent with I think it was running routine. I think it was running. I don't know if you saw that study. I just saw a number of accounts sharing that the other day.
I'm not sure. Okay.
And I do feel like that is probably at the end of before everything that's happened, that's the number one thing that maybe whether it was conscious or not. No, it was conscious. I was just like, oh, I need to get focused, or I need to get this. Like, it was my way to anchor in,
Mhm.
to do that. And like, that's good, but that's coming from a place of, in a way, maybe I'm not wrong. I'm just spitting out too, not thinking too like fully, but of like fear or not, because like from a way I don't want to be, right? It's moving for a purpose of who I don't want to be, right? Maybe I'm overwhelmed and I don't want to be
Yeah.
overwhelmed, so I'm running. So in a degree, can we consider that running away from something? I don't know. I might be thinking into that too much, but it's like, yeah, like how much cooler to be like, I'm going to move my body because I don't know. Yeah, I guess it gets me a little bit like, what is, maybe this is for a good assignment for myself. Like, what is the reason? Um, because I've never used to doubt my ability to be able to just up and do whatever, like, because I always did it and I enjoy it. But like, yeah, deeper reason, like, you had to inspire other. I know in past it's been like, okay, I'm going after goals. I want to inspire others that they can do whatever they want with their bodies. Like, we have limitations on um, ourselves of, oh, you can only do that when you're a collegiate athlete. Like, why can't you have big goals when you're not?
Right.
Like, there's been reason of like pushing my body just to see what it's capable of doing. Like, what is the human body capable? But I think potentially like digging in something that's deeper, right? I'm guessing like, right, like purpose is usually going to be affecting other people, right? So like,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think yes. I think it's like impact. It's how can you show up for other people, maybe as your truest and best self.
mm-hmm.
For me, maybe that's one way. Um, it's interesting you mentioned like like out of a fear or a lack of almost, because I think maybe one of the drivers, I was literally thinking about this earlier today because I have a client who's in his like mid 70s, and I'll come back to a quote that he said, but I was just thinking, I was like, do I move my body out of a fear of like dying essentially? Like,
Right.
I think I might be fear. It might be fear that I am of why. I mean, there's also joy and there's all of these other things. Like
Yeah.
that's one thing that's my like motivating factor. But I do think that there is a component or there's a piece of me that is moving my body and doing all of the things that I do out of fear of not being able to do it at some point, right? And like in preparation for some future version of myself that, I have seen other people around me not be able to do the things that they want to do.
Right.
And so I was like thinking about that earlier. And the one thing that he said, his friend said it at his high school reunion. It was that his friend wanted to die healthy. And I was like, that's such a cool reframe. Like, I want
Yeah.
to be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't want to die sick. Like, I want to like live to be 100 and something years old, and I'll just fall asleep one night and I won't wake up. Like,
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
die healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it is. And I think for the most part, most people could consciously probably admit like you are acting more out of fear than of love, right? Of like, it's like I'm moving my body because, like, I mean, it seems so cliche, but I think when you actually really get real with it, it's just like, because, like, not, and it's not because, oh, I love my body and I want to avoid this. I think a lot of people do, though, at the end of the day. Like, that's
Yeah.
more so what it is versus I mean, I think one thing for me is just like I want to be out in nature. Like I just want to go
Yeah.
be in nature. Like that can be like a way where it's just like I want to do that. Like I want to be in nature. I want to be with friends, things like that. Versus coming from fear. But like, what would be like the deepest? I'd probably have to sit and journal. Like,
Yeah. I mean, me too. I'm just spitballing here. I'm just like this. I just never, I don't know. It just like came into my mind. I'm like, I don't think I had really like thought about it that in that way before, or yeah. And obviously there's a multitude of things. Like nothing is ever just one thing. But
yeah,
yeah, it was an interesting thought experiment.
yeah. Not to play around with it. Maybe this is my healing For my long COVID is that
No problem. That might be interesting for anybody out there who watches this later or whatever. You can journal on what you're like, why you actually move or do the things that you do. It doesn't even have to be movement. It could be what you do or you don't do, what you're, the
like a really honest reflection too, right? Like,
yeah. And when we get honest with ourselves, that can be kind of scary, but it's
like true honest. Like, I think for me, like, I guess I've had like a lot of things that have kind of come up as you're talking. I'm like, then I come back. I'm like, I remember I was going to say that. Like, I know when you were saying like your motivation when you were younger to run, was, body weight, like kind of more body weight related, right?
Yeah.
For me, one of my biggest realizations through like a journey of like not being able to fully show up as I always thought, like I always have been able to, I guess, is there was a sense of needing to prove myself, right? But I don't think I was very conscious of that before, because I was like deep down and like I was more of a person, what I preach to is just like, I'm out here because it's like, it's good for my body, it's good for my mental health, like I love it, like friends, all that kind of stuff. But like there was some like deep down there that came out with this process of like needing to prove myself, and that's like a whole thing I could go into. So that's like one thing that's like come up for me that was like, that was like a deep like reason that I didn't realize that was coming into running, at least, which is like why I like other things where it's like dancing. I'm not trying to prove myself in dancing. I'm just trying to like literally have fun. Like that's what's cool about dancing. I guess like it's a reframe, and I'm like, is this like I'm also kind of I had to sit here and journal. I'm just like spitballing. But it's like when you go dancing, I'm like, that's fun. Like let's go. Like running. It's like that's fun, but it's also like a lot of times more came from the mental aspects of why I was running, right? Which I think, okay, that's the whole thing, because this is actually something I've been processing myself, has been like, I actually feel like I don't have as much desire to run. Like I do, but it's not the same anymore because like I've addressed a lot of the mental stuff. So I don't know, this is kind of a weird experience if anyone else has ever been there where it's like you've realized and you've like processed that and now you're like, do I not? Does my body just like not need to run anymore? Is that why I'm going through this? I don't know. Anyways.
Right. But and it all goes into the evolution of like movement and like what movement means to you and like how everything has changed, not only from like like where your mental like kind of standpoint is, but like everything that you've worked on personally, and then also your physical journey with like and with long COVID and all of that, like it all plays a part in the evolution of where you are and what you do and what you enjoy. And I think I know you mentioned play earlier, and that was something that like I think is really important, and adults like need to play too. I think that it's important to play, and it comes back to the joyful movement, but just doing things for the love of just like doing them or because it brings you joy, or and not feeling like it has to be just one thing. And I know that we've said that in multiple ways here, but at the end of the day, it kind of does come down to joy, and play can be a really big part of that.
I feel like to wrap, like, not that, I don't know, in my mind as you're saying that, I'm like, that's it. This is what I'm screaming in the inside. I'm like, that's it. When we're like having like this deep, like, not really deep, kind of deep, not deep of like why, but I was like, I think in the end of the day, that's actually what I'm kind of getting at. And I've currently been processing for myself too. It's play. Like, what's a deeper reason to play? Like, as I was like recently sick, I was like, kind of like, what do I want to do? What do I want to play? I guess that would be the words to put into the feelings I'm having. Like, how do I want to play today? And I think that's so, that can be, especially if you're in a very 9-to-5 culture, like what? Like we're adults. And like, I think that's our biggest like fault as like adults is like, why? And I think I was always this way as a kid. Like, why can't we just go out and play? Like, actually, to me, that encompasses everything we've talked about. Like, why the reason I want to go out and run is I want to play. I want to be in nature. I want to move my body. I want to be with other humans. Like in essence, like I want to go just do some cartwheels today. Why not? Like some people will call you woo-woo weird, but like we're humans. Like we're meant to move. Like I think at the end of the day, maybe that's it. Like so I can play until I'm 70. That seems motivating for me. I want to run because I want to play. Like I want to dance, so I want to play. I want to go just any way I can play today, right? I think that encompasses everything.
That is such a good, how do I want to play today? Like, that's such a good way to think about it. And playing could be structured or unstructured. It could be lifting, it could be running, it could be cartwheels, it could be hula hooping, it could be dance, it could be a soccer ball. Like it could be so many things. And I think play is such a good way to put that, because it also encompasses the like feeling that around the movement, which takes away the maybe necessity to do something for some, strict hard end goal or whatever. And playing in movement makes it inherently just fun and for the joy of purely doing that thing rather than having some kind of extreme other goal. Or it doesn't even have to be that extreme, but just like some other kind of like hard fast goal, I guess.
Yeah.
I love that.
No, that's great because I feel like
all right, everybody, just go play.
That's all we would need to know. Don't even need to listen to this whole thing. Just how can actually do listen to this actually, please. But I love it. I love it because I don't know. I think one thing that just even just some snippets of stuff you said throughout, like at one point it's like diet, exercise, like the way we go about things in general is so, again, yes, acting out of fear. Like we need to do, and I don't know if it's today's Asian world or it's just what I'm aware of or people I'm around, but it's just like we got to do 50 million things to be healthy, right? Like, and the way we talk about things, oh, I gotta get my step goal, I gotta do that. Like, it seems so silly. Like, when I was in the deep part of my healing initially from long COVID, I would just like be thinking like, okay, I'm this like wanderer living like hunter-gatherer, like wanderer person. And I was just like, what do I need right now? Because I was like actually really, really sick. I know that sounds a little crazy, but I was just like really sick. I'm like, what do I need? I need food, water, relationships. I need like, like that. Like at the end of the day, like those are what, I don't know, we've just modernized health so much that it's not even healthy. Like this, like we're trying to be so strict about this all, and then that's what becomes popular, and that's what's thrown online, and that's what people preach, and that's what health is, and it's not even healthy. Like
you have to do like a 40-minute morning routine to like like I don't know, that like has all of these, and you take like 50,000 supplements and like all of this stuff. Like maybe there are certain supplements and there are certain things that having a morning routine is great, but like if it starts taking over your entire life, that you're like, oh my God, I have to do this and 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 this to be healthy, then it's not healthy anymore.
Exactly. And I can share this even from the nuance of like, I've had to do a lot of stuff like with my long COVID. I've just been like, okay, I'm still not getting, or like I am taking the supplements, I am doing that. Like I can say that and also be like the healthiest thing. Like this is a period of my life, right? So I say that just to speak to anyone else too, hearing that maybe there's a period of your life where it's more for whatever reason. But like ultimately we're trying to get back to this neutral baseline where you don't have to do all these million things and like, like 100%.
Anyway. Definitely. And I mean, I take supplements and I have a morning routine, but it's like, it's all within what like you said, what your body needs, what your mind needs. It's all within whatever that kind of capacity is that you then have, and that bandwidth that you have. And I think that when we really, if we are acting again, not out of fear, but like out of doing things that are really serving our body and our minds, then it is a benefit to us. But if we're doing all of these things, or we're taking all of these supplements, or doing this 40-step morning routine because out of fear that somebody like told us that if we didn't do that we were going to have all of these other problems, it's like, where is that coming from again? That comes back to that fear thing for sure, I think, for a lot of people, because I mean, that's how we're marketed to a lot of times, is we're marketed to through fear. And that has never felt good for me. I don't like it.
And ultimately then you're not really, I mean, that is where like marketing, that's like the quick fix, right? It's like quick fix would be to sell out of fear. But I don't know, would you say the opposite of fear, and I've seen different things, I'm trying to think, would you say the opposite of fear is love, or the opposite of fear is play? The opposite of fear is, I don't know.
I don't know. The opposite of fear, I think, would be You know what first comes to my mind, but maybe it's just a word that I've been thinking about a lot, is resilience. And like, I think it's like, because even though there's hard things and we might feel fear about something, resilience is kind of this ability to kind of grow from that maybe. And I don't know. That was just the first word that came to mind. But fear, I don't think that having fear is necessarily a bad thing all the time. Because I've been thinking about this in terms of growth, and fear as like an emotion, and being fearful of something maybe is also trying to tell us something deeper about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I was actually thinking about this in terms of dance, because it was fear or embarrassment or like uneasiness. Maybe fear is a little bit too harsh of a word, but there are some people that I'm like, oh my gosh, I do not dance well with them. Like,
Yes.
I can't follow their lead. Like, I know I don't look good when I dance with them because I don't know what I'm doing, or they're too advanced for me. And I've purposely made myself face those fears and go dance with and ask those people specifically to dance. Like, will
Yeah.
you dance with me?
Yeah.
Even though I don't dance with them. Because out of fear.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I definitely have grown from it. So that's maybe why resilience came as the opposite of fear. Is it's kind of like fear and resilience have this interplay a bit together. And I don't know if they're really opposites, but they kind of help balance each other out in a way.
Yeah. No, I like that. I feel
Yeah.
like it could be any take. I know that I saw like a good post once, and I forget what it was, to be 100% honest. But then, of course, my all or nothing brain went to like, oh, that's it. No, it could be whatever you think the opposite is.
Things. I mean, it could be so many different things, and
Yeah.
it's all about the frame that you put it in, which is with so much in life, which is what I love, because I think that our we're in the same room doing the same thing, and our whole mental construct of what happened within a certain amount of time, it could be totally different. Like, our entire experience could be different just based on our own interpretation, our own experiences, our own mental state, our own physical state,
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is that. And so the way that we look at the world, the way that we interact with each other, to recognize that and understand that, it could be so many things.
Yeah.
Is just another, I think it helps give permission to, again, just like create something that feels good for you as an individual,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
rather than whatever everybody else says.
Yeah. Exactly. Because I love that. I think that's why I love hanging out with you. We relate because it's just like that openness, right? Like, we're aware that, like, you know, we're aware that there's so many different perspectives to everything, and at the end of the day, it's like what your own perspective is what matters, and what you want to bring into the world, not what like everyone else says. And I know, if I'm getting stuck sometimes, like one area of I can get stuck is like, oh, what's the right way, wrong way? There's no way. There's your way, which is a big part of my coaching, then, right? Because I get people that are similar to me, and it's just like, but I like love that perspective, and it is crazy to think like you could be. It's just, yeah, I don't know, so many thoughts that come to that. Be in the same room when someone's having a completely different perception of the whole everything that's going on. So
yeah. No, there's so many rabbit holes that we could go down. But I also always love getting to chat with you, because it's like one of those things where I know the first time that I met you, the first time that we hopped on a call, like the vibe was just, matched. And
yeah.
I absolutely love it. So it's always so fun. And we could always talk about 1,000 different things.
Wait, I have one more thing. Can I bring one thing? You're probably trying to wrap it up, but just because of what you were I know we're basically having a conversation at this point.
Up a little because I'm like, I gotta go to bed. But
okay, no, but just because it like matched with what you were saying earlier a little bit. But I was just like about challenging yourself, like with dancing, like sometimes it's like, where do you challenge yourself with like type of people you like hang out with too, right? Because it's like, okay, we mesh. This is easy. Like this is like it's natural, right? But is there a degree that you challenge yourself by putting yourself in rooms with people that you don't mesh with as well? Like that's what I'm hearing when you were talking about dancing, and you're like, I did grow from that. Because I ultimately, to a degree, think no, I'm going to grow the best. It's like grow the best where I'm being supported, where like I mesh, the same values, all that kind of stuff. Or are you going to grow more? I think the answer is it depends, like everything. But
that's the classic PT saying, it depends.
Yeah.
No, that's so true. And I think it's always just like everything else, it's the messy middle. It's the in-between. It's a little bit of that, and it's a little bit of this. Like it is surrounding yourself with people who have the same values and like maybe like a growth-oriented mindset or whatever it is. And then it's also challenging yourself to be around people who don't think the same way that you are, because maybe you learn something from them. Well, probably you're going to learn something from them, and it might be something that you resonate with actually, and you can incorporate into, the way that you perceive the world or the way that you're doing something, or you learn what you don't want. So, you're either way you're learning.
Either way you're learning.
And so I think that that's a really important thing for people to also understand, is that I have to tell myself this, is that, there's no failure. It's just knowledge and growth. And so, that's really hard sometimes though.
Yes. But that's how you're going to learn. Because I think, for sure, I've avoided failure, like part of that type A perfectionistic, when I look back on some things I've done, it's like, oh, I'm just avoiding failure right now. Like, and that's, you can't grow if you do that. Avoiding perceived failure, which I would, I'm basically avoiding growth by avoiding potentially not going the way I think it's going to go,
Yep. 100%. And I still struggle with that. I think, we probably all do to some capacity, I bet.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, any other thoughts that you have that you want to?
No, I think that's okay. I think, we talked about the tuning your body. I hit on the proving myself a little bit. I think at the end of the day, one of the things was just the patience. You hit on at one point. It was just like with any healing journey, patience. That was really like when you're talking about that, I'm like, yes, that has been, especially in this healing journey for myself, a big challenge of, okay, patience. Like I want to do this therapy, or I want to try this or do this, whatever. And to see the instant result. And it's like, no, patience. Or the other day I was trying to decide on a new offer for my business, and I was going to force it because I was like, no, we need to decide on this brain was like, like, I think the modern world, like, no, we got to do this. But when you do lead with your soul a little bit, which I feel like we both do, you wait for the answer sometimes. Like, don't just wait forever. But that goes with healing too. Like it's not going to happen on your timeline a lot of times. So.
Yeah, 100%. That's something that I have to tell my clients a lot, is like, it's not like the coaching that I do, and I know the coaching that you do, like it's not like a 6-week like fast challenge or something like that. It's not some 6-pack and 4-week body, whatever. Like it's not, or make a 10K in a month or something. Like it's not that. It is so much more than that, and it has to be, because if you're like the quick fix stuff just doesn't do it. It doesn't work. It doesn't work from a business standpoint. It doesn't work from a body standpoint. It doesn't work from a mindset standpoint. So it's patience. Patience is key. Consistency, time, patience, all of this hard stuff.
But that's not what's preached a lot of times. So that's,
definitely
not what's sexy, So it's just like, I see that's a lot in running too, right? So you get a lot of, like you were saying, something like, oh, run a marathon in 12 weeks or whatever it is, like silly stuff, that's, and it's what sells because it's fear. It's like, versus what's actually going to sustain you. But
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm always curious to kind of like wrap these things up. If you have any resources that you want to either like direct people to, or that are either yours or just like your favorite things, like books, podcasts, whatever that you enjoy. I know I'm always curious because I always like, what else do other people listen to that I would like to listen to or read or whatever it is.
Wait, can I take a hot take on this? Not a
Yeah.
hot take. I think the most helpful thing you can do today is to take some time to tune into yourself. You're asking me like what resources. I'm gonna turn it around and say, 'cause that's been my own personal journey where I'm at.
No, that's actually really good. Because I overconsume media. I'm like, ooh, another podcast.
I want to turn that back and be like, the biggest resource you can tap into today, tomorrow, whenever you listen to this, is right here, yourself. And I'm going to challenge you to tap into that, because I think, yeah, in today's Asian world, there's a million things you can tap into and learn from. And early on in my, like, I guess we'll call it personal development, business, all that kind of stuff, it was like I would listen to things all the time. And then my current era has been like listening to myself, right?
Yeah.
Not in like an egotistical way or whatever, like just like literally tuning in. So I guess coming back to that body, like tune into yourself. That's the biggest resource I have for you. I'm trying to think if I do have any like legit, resource. I think the biggest thing is just like, if you wanna, follow for more, especially, more holistic tips, I guess, like that for like the business owner, which is mainly what I'm posting about nowadays.
Yeah.
Kristen_run your life is my IG. The biggest quick resource I personally have isn't really relate necessarily to what we just talked about, but it's for clinicians who want to learn how to write run plans and get started with their online business. I have a free resource that helps you do that. So if you do happen to be like, hey, I want to learn more about how to write run plans and start my own business, I have a free resource at my Instagram that I can get you that. But podcasts, books, anything. Honestly, I'm in a big listening to myself right now, so I don't even feel like I have like a recent one that I'm going to say. I can definitely give you all the ones I've always given my clients, like start here, do this, but
Yeah.
we'll just leave that. Like, tap into yourself today. Take some time to, learn what you need, what you want. One of my big questions I always will tap into, because I'm used to be a person that didn't do it well. It's like, what do you need? What do you really need? Nope. What do you need? Like, just sit with yourself and long enough to feel like the uncomfortable answers too, and the true answers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not what you think you should say.
Right. Exactly. I think that's really good. I like that. I like that you turned it on me. So like kind of that like alignment check-in, body scan, like, so if anybody is watching this at any point, it would be a good exercise to, maybe write down how your like body is feeling, like physically, how your mind is feeling, like what your mental state is, what feels good, what doesn't feel good, what feels in alignment or doesn't feel in alignment. And I think when we can put those things on paper, you're so right. I think it's really important it's a good exercise, an important exercise to be able to tune into yourself. And so it's a good action item. I like it. Yes.
Yeah, two other ones that come up there that I'll do a lot too would be like, what am I avoiding? Like being like, that can be a hard one to get really honest, but you gotta be in a vulnerable, open state with yourself. Like, what am I avoiding? What conversation do I need to have? Like, if there's something that's feeling off between, one of my main important relationships is a conversation with myself or a conversation with someone else I need to have. And what do I need? What do I truly need in this moment? Those have been like some questions in my own life that help. That I'll like turn back for you guys to sit there and answer yourself too.
I love that. I need to journal on those for sure. Yeah. And so everybody should follow Kristen on Instagram. And for anybody else out there who maybe is watching this, if you're watching it now or, within the next 24 hours, I have the Human Health Collective is my in-person event that really brings these types of conversations, but in person in my city in Chattanooga. We have panels discussing health and wellness with experts every month. And it is always the last Tuesday of the month. December will be a bye month from the holidays, but we will be back in January. So stay tuned for January's panel. I'm really, really excited about the Human Health Collective there. And then also, I will be continuing to hold these weekly lives with people like Kristen, people like the other experts that I have had on, and really having these just like open, honest conversations about health, wellness, what that looks like, and how we can all help lift each other up, basically, and by learning from each other's stories and all of these things. So I'm really, really thankful that we got to catch up today, Kristen. I'm so glad that you got to be here.
Too.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited that I got to come on your podcast, and we'll have to catch up soon. And yeah, anyone listening, feel free to reach out with any questions, or if you resonate with anything or just want to drop in, let us know. And I'm excited to chat, I'm sure, again soon.
Yes, 100%. Alrighty, guys. Bye for now.
Bye.